Hey everybody, Heidi Harris here. How you doing? Glad to be having you join me today. George Harris joins me, not a relation, but a guy I've known forever. I've known George close to 25 years, I think. He's a great guy, CEO. He's retired now. Alien Tequila, show off your shirt, buddy. People need to know
Hey,
about your
there you
brand
go.
there.
There you
That's
go.
just one
Thanks.
of the 50,000 things you've done over the course of your career.
And by the way, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on your show. And I don't know, maybe 25 years, that's probably a longer relationship than most people have had.
You know what?
Maybe
That's
we are
probably
brother
true.
and sister.
Well, you know what? I met you right about the time. Well, I've been married almost 25 years. And I think I met you right before I got married because you were at the time you were in the jewelry business. You were telling me about my ring and the quality of my ring.
You did meet me before you got married because I had to reassure you that the guy was a good guy because the ring was a good ring.
I picked it. Just saying. Uh, I saved him money actually because I didn't want it stone because it would spin anyway. But I remember you in the jewelry business and you looked at it. You go, "Oh, that's a nice ring." So that's literally how at least 25 years I've known you. But
Yes, years way back in the Wayback Machine, I owned a jewelry store. That's for sure.
I've known you so long I have to pay you off. That's the bottom line, right? Yeah, in this town, Vegas doesn't forget anything. Anyway, glad to have you here. You talk a little bit about your credentials with the Republican Party over the years. People need to know that because we're going to get back to that.
Well, I was a chairman of the Clark County Republican Party, and then I became the finance chairman for the state party. And then I helped at the national level for a couple of years. And, I'm proud to say during all that time, I raised like $8.2 million. And
Wow.
by the way, it was over like a 7-year period. But,
Still,
um, look, I'm in this, I'm now running for state Senate in District 8. I'm retired. The true story, I mean, the facts behind the story is, my wife said, listen, how you like in retirement? I said, oh, I'm loving it. And she goes, yeah, me, not so much. You can leave the house by 8 o'clock in the morning and you can return at 5 in the afternoon, go find something to do.
so
And
funny.
so, and so I decided to run for Senate.
You
I'm of course, exaggerating a little,
No,
but
but you were in the casino business for a lot of years, involved with the Ahern Hotel. You did that for many,
yeah.
many years.
And I worked for Sheldon Adelson for about, I think, 5 years, and I
Wow.
did work for Steve Wynn. I've lived here my entire life, and then I also I'm a service disabled veteran. I served in the United States Army, proud of that, and that's why I learned to do. That's where I learned that that straightened me out. When I went into the military, I was lucky. I was 17, and I had a father who took me down and thought it was time to sign me up and put me in the military because it was either the military or probably jail.
You know what, George? Honestly, on a serious note, if I had my life to live over again, I would have joined the military. But when I was 18, I was such a moron, a complete moron. I don't know if I'd even been able to hack it or not. I sure could have used it. Let's put it that way.
I've known you a long time, and you could have hacked it. And let me tell you, the military was. Uh, there's certain things I don't talk about because of the job position I had, but the military was so fun for me. I got to blow stuff up.
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun in the military.
Yeah, I would absolutely love. My dad served. My brother served. I guess it just didn't occur to me that it was an option at that time. And I didn't think about it. But had I had my life to live over, that's definitely something I would have changed. So you and I have gone back and forth for years about various things. We see each other at various events. And one of the most recent things that you and I have been both talking about and sharing on social media was this debacle of trying to push for the Hollywood studios, the Hollywood handouts, we're calling them. Again, they're trying this, and most recently in a special legislative session called by our Republican governor. And you had written about it. Now, the interesting thing for me, we'll get to why it failed, but the interesting thing for me is that you had dinner with some people who are union members of the laborers local union, and Tommy White's ahead of that, and they were talking about how Tommy had this in the bag. Tommy had the governor and all these people in the bag, and at the end of the day this thing didn't carry. And it was fascinating to me because normally, you know how this town is, certain industries run it and everybody else does what they say, they get in line or they're out the door. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's true. Okay, first of all these guys are guys I went to high school with. We've known each other forever. No, they're Tommy. No one has any influence over these guys and our relationship. We grew up together.
Oh
So,
yeah, I'm not putting him
and
down. My dad
no,
was a
no, no,
lifelong
no, not,
union
I'm
member.
just saying,
Yeah, of
and I wouldn't ever disclose who these guys are to Tommy.
course not.
But I will tell you they're pretty high up in the union, and and I have nothing but the utmost respect for Tommy. I mean, Tommy Tommy's doing what he's supposed to do. His job is to try to create jobs for his people. Look, the problem is that this Hollywood studio thing was the stupidest idea ever tried to be perpetuated upon the taxpayers in Nevada history. Let's talk about how this happened. This whole thing went south, and the reason, no matter what they did, and normally you're right, they have all the power and they can move the buttons, but what happened is that myself, you, Chuck Muth, Pauline Lee, all these
Victor
conservative
Jakes,
groups,
John Sarpalis,
the
all
people
the
the people in the neighborhoods got wind of this, and they said, wait, hold on, now wait a minute. You want to build a studio on Flamingo and Town Center, which is mostly residential. It literally is right across the street from 55 plus Sienna Health, or Sienna, I'm sorry, and a retirement community.
nice retirement.
4,000 plus residents in that community.
Mm-hmm.
And these geniuses go, oh, we wanted it. Now, I don't blame Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes is going to make 50 million bucks off the deal. Okay. So what I'm concerned about is that the arrogance of the merry men, and the merry men are the consultants to the governor. It's Ryan Irwin, it's Ryan Cherry, it's Jeremy Hughes, it's Mike Slanker, it's Peter or not. These people berated and cajoled and did everything they could to force the elected officials to vote for this. And then along came not George Harris, not Heidi Harris, not any of the people, but along came the voter.
That's right.
And the voter said, no more. And that's why it failed. And yes, it only failed by one vote. But let me tell you something. The only thing politicians, and unfortunately, I detest politicians, and now I'm a politician. The only thing politicians are afraid of is losing their power. And these guys usually ignore the voters. They just do what they want. And now we have turned on this washing machine. We're gonna clean the gene pool. We're gonna put them on wash and dry. And if you're a Republican that is serving and you are governing as a Democrat, you won't be there anymore. That I give you my personal guarantee, because I don't need anything. I've got access to a lot of wealth, and I'm just tired of it. And look, I don't agree with the way the Democrats think that they're allowed to destroy the state, and they will destroy the state. And I know you're going to go, I cannot believe you're saying this, George. Am I angry at Joe? Yes, I'm angry at Joe. I personally like Joe. This is the dumbest thing, and Joe should be embarrassed, and he really is embarrassed. I know he is. He put this forward. He could have done a lot of stuff. I personally asked him, I said, would you put some red meat on the table and put school choice out? It's going to get defeated. But then we have all the Democrats voting against it. He wouldn't do that. And to his own demise, to his own demise, this is unfortunately what he, this is, I don't usually try. Yes, I do cuss in private, but look, this is his bag of shit, and now he has to live with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, he got nothing accomplished. Calls this big a special session. Nothing gets accomplished, and I'm trying to figure out these aren't Republican values. These aren't conservative values trying to push for things like this. Then there was the crime bill that got gutted right at the last minute. So there was nothing. He accomplished nothing basically by calling this special session. Absolutely nothing.
Then he had to sign his own gutted crime bill. How embarrassing is that? And by the way, he's made deals with the DOJ that are now being violated because his crime bill was gutted. So he's going to have to deal with that on his own. Now, with all that said, let me just explain to everybody how bad this was. They wanted to build the Hollywood studio, which on its face is a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
Diversification. I love it.
Pay for it with your own money. Don't ask me to pay for it. So then they come up with these corporations, Sony, Universal, Howard Hughes was going to benefit, and all these merry men, which are the consultants and lobbyists to the governor. And they basically said, okay, well, we got to have this happen because this is a jobs bill. It's not a jobs bill. It's the most nonsensical thing I ever heard. The longest the jobs would have lasted was 14 months. Okay. There's no permanent jobs because the people The Hollywood people are still going to live in Hollywood. They would come up here for 2-3 days at a time.
Sure.
But let me explain to you how bad the thing that was the death knell for this and the poison pill is these were called transferable tax credits. Okay. So let me explain to you in layman's terms what that is for all of us. I get a certificate in the mail from Netflix saying you get $100 off on your next Netflix bill. But I don't have Netflix. But my sister, Heidi Harris, has Netflix. So I take this coupon and I go to her house and I say, Heidi, I'll sell you this coupon for $50. Okay. You give me $50. You turn it in to get $100 off your bill. You save $50 on your bill. Okay. And then whash, bang, boom. Guess who lost that $100? Netflix.
That's right.
That money's gone. That's a promotional item for Netflix, which is good. But in our case, now let me put it in our case. It's the government is picking winners and losers, the governor and the merry men, and they give $120 million a year to the movie studios, who then turn around and take that money and they go to MGM or another corporation
right.
and they sell that tax credit.
That's
And
right.
guess who loses in the end? All the money.
Yeah,
The
us.
taxpayer.
Of course we do. And they're losing money hand over fist. There are no jobs in LA anymore. The movie industry's dying. AI is replacing a lot of these people. You know, I was
Well,
reading up.
you just hit the nail on the head. So I'll let you explain. The AI thing has destroyed the movie business.
Well, it has. And also, I was reading up on the history of this just the last few years. And one of the things that kind of started the ball rolling was when they went on a writer's strike. And when they went on a writer's strike, an extended strike at that, when did it go on, like 8 months or something? During that time, the studios all went, you know what? I think we can live without this, 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 and this. It gave them time to figure out ways to save money. And a lot of these jobs have not come back. This is a loser industry. We don't need to bring them here and have them getting welfare. And as you mentioned, and this should not be glossed over, it's really important because I didn't know this until recently, that the gaming industry will buy these tax credits for pennies on the dollar and
Of
screw
course
us
they
over.
will,
So they were behind it too.
because what? Why? Because they sold all their properties to real estate investment trust companies, and now they have to pay rent. So here you go. You're a real estate company. You're a gaming company. Now your rent's $2.5 billion a year. Your operating cost is $5.6 billion a year. Now you have to make $10 billion before you can turn a profit. Look, you're going to see over the next 3 years, these guys have ran everybody off because they price themselves out of the market.
That's
But they
right.
price themselves out of the market for necessity because they got to pay their bills. So you're going to see, and by the way, some of these CEOs are getting paid millions of dollars, and their companies are basically gutted. And look, I was in that industry, and I'll tell you something. It used to be the greatest industry in the world because you just printed money. Well, that's not the case today.
Right.
So there's got to be adult supervision. One of the reasons I'm running for state senate is because I'm going to bring adult supervision, in my opinion, to the Nevada legislature. And I'm lucky because I have a lot of business experience,
That's
and I
right.
can look at stuff, you know, on a 3D chessboard. But I can tell you, you hit the, I didn't even think about that when the writer's strike took place. One of their biggest comment was, "Look, we're going to be replaced by AI," and they have been replaced by
That's right.
AI.
It started the ball rolling. It gave these studios time to think of how much they could save money. Kind of put a stop on everything. So they screwed themselves. I have no sympathy for them whatsoever. I did want we were talking about the gaming industry, and one of the things about the gaming industry is, and I, there are casinos doing well, and some are not doing so well. A lot of them are just trying to jack up the prices on everything. The LVCVA, and this has been the most interesting thing in the last, let's say, 15 years. The LVCVA, for those who don't know, Las Vegas Convention Visitors Authority, no longer has the market on the messaging for Vegas. Now that messaging is on Twitter, on Reddit, on Facebook. People get pissed off because they're ripped off with parking and drinks. and waiting in line for an hour to get in a hotel and all these other things. And they go right to social media. And the LVCVA can't do, and they can sit there and tell you that the beaches are crowded and people are having a great time. But guess what? Reddit says otherwise. X says otherwise. Instagram says otherwise. That's what's happening.
Well, the proliferation of gaming has also caused a lot of this. Listen, if I was back running a big casino company, I would change the entire model for this reason. We're not New York. Yes, you pay a lot of money for parking in New York, but everybody knows that when they go there. When they come here, they expect value. We have sold value since the 50s.
That's right.
And you can't turn around and not sell value. Because why? Because the casino guys understand this. They have casinos in California. First of all, most of the casino guys don't even live in Nevada. Okay. They don't. They really don't. And they don't care about Nevada. They don't care about the culture in Nevada. They give money to museums in LA and this and that. Look how long it took to build the Smith Center.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why this, believe it or not, people should be proud of the governor because he opened up everybody's eyes to the bullshit. Okay. Now people can say, look, we don't trust you guys and we're going to be watching you. And when the voters are watching, the voters the Democrats in the neighborhoods and the Republicans in the neighborhoods, they're great people. The ones that are elected are the ones that are uber left, and they're trying to put agendas on that 90% of their party doesn't agree with.
Absolutely right.
And you have so many people that went nonpartisan because they're tired of both the parties.
Well, yeah.
It's amazing. And look, they're going to attack me. They're going to do everything. But what they don't have is I have the ability to get a message to everybody into the district and say, hi, I'm George. Here's who I am. Here's who I stand for. And they're going to tell you I did all this stuff. And I'm going to say, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Oh, I did that. Ooh, I didn't do that, but I would have liked to do that. But it's nonsense. But I'm going to be saying, listen, I'm not going to get involved with this nonsense of Marilyn Dondero. I'm going to talk about facts, and I'm going to talk about problems, and I'm going to provide solutions. And if you think that my ideas are good, then you're going to vote for me. If you think that being 48th in the nation in education, and when she started 16 years ago, we were 46, then she's your person.
Yeah, but, absolutely. By the way, you're referring to Marilyn Dondero Loop. We'll just transition over to your Senate race. Senate District 8, what you're running for. I was looking at the numbers with Marilyn Dondero Loop, and her support has dropped drastically. She barely won her last race. And I hadn't even looked at that until like yesterday. And that's a big deal. I mean, clearly her constituents are not happy with her.
Well, and by the 15th of January, it will be a majority Republican. She had a majority of over 8,000 votes in her last election, or no, 2 elections ago. I'm sorry. And by the middle of January, I'll probably have a 400 plurality of Republicans. I am communicating with nonpartisans. My campaign is about ideas. I'm not going to get in. Look, they're going to say horrible. I'm going to have a primary. There's no doubt. Okay. And because the history of the district shows that there's been 4 to 6 people in the primary the last 5 election cycles. I don't care because I'm going to talk about, here's what I think we should do. We should talk about education, which, as a CEO, I would try to hire great talent. And in the end, they would come to me and say, God, I'd love to work. I love Los Angeles. I'm not doing, my wife said, no, your guys' education system sucks.
Well, they don't care.
And so I would lose great people. I'm an advocate to say bluntly to every liberal Democrat, you are out of your mind if you think it's acceptable to have biological males competing against females in sports. And here's why. Females in the 60s, they had to go to court and sue to get just so they could have their own female sports.
Right.
Now you've got boys playing against girls, and it's a problem in Nevada. Contrary, I've had 20, maybe 30 soccer moms come and just pound me over the head. I don't want boys fighting because what they don't talk about is how many of these young ladies have lost scholarships
That's right.
because they were third, but a male was in there and they got bumped to fourth, so they didn't qualify for the
Right.
scholarship.
Right. That's what happens. I mean, it's a tragedy. And I'll tell you something. I've interviewed people on the, various parents about things like that. We're not going to get into the transition, not because you're afraid of it, just because that's not the subject tonight. But the transitions, the supposed transitions and things like that, and the sports things. And I've interviewed as many liberal parents, very, very liberal people are very upset about
Who
this.
don't want anything to do with it.
That's exactly right. This is something that both sides are absolutely against because this is common sense. And yet, some of these politicians, they just don't get it. It just makes zero sense to me that they continue to push this agenda.
So the only way to resolve the education problem, the only way, I'm telling you, this is from a CEO of a company, is to have school choice
That's
and have
right.
universal school choice for anyone and everyone. Black, white, Hispanic, um, people that look like me. It's very important. And because when you do that, here's what happens. You have competition. And there'll be schools that fail. Well, they need to fail. Okay. Right now, Clark County spends $40+ million on diesel fuel to move kids from point A to point B to different schools. And a lot of these schools are schools that are in what I call God's waiting room neighborhoods,
Right.
meaning that there's no kids that live in the neighborhoods. They're all old people like me.
No,
And
no, wait, I want to stop you there. That is really interesting because I hadn't thought about it because there are elementary schools I see because I lived in an older part of town and I see elementary schools and there aren't a lot of kids and all of a sudden they're building these multi-million-dollar schools. And that's why, because they're being bused. A couple of years back, I was on a panel with Aaron Ford, a couple other people in the legislature, mostly lefties, and we were talking about school choice and they were saying, well, we don't want school choice because, not every parent has a car to drive their kid to school. And I said, wait a minute, if every family member, if every mom or dad has a voucher in their hands for whatever, let's say $7,500, that's been the amount discussed in the past, right? Then schools will pop up in the neighborhoods where the kids live. They'll want that money. They'll be competitive. Problem solved. Oh, there you go.
well, first of all, it's just absolute nonsense to say, oh, parents don't have cars. Everybody has cars, everybody has telephones, and if they don't, they figure it out because they have to feed their family. So they
Right.
figure out a way to they figure. Now, here's the deal. We are 48th in the nation in the school districts, okay? Yet somehow we're number 2 or 3 in the charter school system.
Mm-hmm.
And because parents are involved in charter schools.
That's right.
See, the teachers union doesn't want parents involved at the Clark County School District
Oh, no,
level.
they own your kids.
They wanted, and now
Yeah.
here's the other thing. So in your neighborhood, let's take your neighborhood for example. You have an elementary school in your neighborhood. I would propose to you that over 90% of the kids that go to that school are either bused there or driven there by their parents.
Probably.
Here's the thing. If we took that school and shut it down and sold it to a developer, okay, because most schools are on about 62 acres, and sold it to a developer for $1 under the understanding that when we sell you this property, you have to build homes commensurate to the neighborhood, but they need to be $300,000 so you can have affordable housing. Oh my goodness, I just killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
That's right.
That's because I have a view. When you're a CEO and you live in these worlds and you have to resolve issues every day for so long, you look at things differently. It's not that everybody else, I'm not smarter than any other guy. I just was in a position where I had to make life and death decisions, not once, but 50, 60, 70, 80 times a day. Let me tell
Right.
you, I'm sitting in my office at the Venetian and I get a call from security. A lady slipped. Oh my goodness, this lady slipped down the escalator. She broke her hip. She did all this. Oh my God, we got to go. We go down and help that lady. And then 10 minutes later, I got 4 lawyers calling me. So, I'm suing you for $80 million. Boys, go back. I want to see the film. Go back 20 minutes. Go back 40 minutes. Go back. And then we see a man pouring a milkshake on the escalator.
Wow.
And then we take a picture of that guy and we find out who is this guy. And we find out later that guy is that lady's husband. And they're coming into the hotel just to make money. This is what I had to deal with every day. So when
Right.
I sit and I look at budgets, because I'm a nerd, I look at budgets and I go, wow, $40 million for gasoline for
Right.
buses? What the heck is going on? Oh my
Right.
goodness. And then you pull the onion back and you get that smell. And it's just like when you're talking about the governor's consultants. Every time you pull that onion back, it gets stinkier and stinkier because they talk him into doing dumb things
Right.
like the movie studio.
Oh, yeah.
And then you find out, oh,
Yeah.
wow, this is great. So I'll tell you
Yeah.
real quick. Let me tell you this quick story.
Okay.
We win, and I'm so proud of you because everything you did. You were on your show, you were calling people, talking to people, same as Chuck Muth, Pauline Lee, and you got everybody upset, and they called all their legislators and they said, if you vote for this thing, we're voting you out of office. And then the legislators looked at all the lobbyists and said, I don't give a crap what you have to say. I just got 250 phone calls from people living in my neighborhood who
Right.
are going to throw me out of office. And I like this. I like being called senator, or I like being called assembly person.
They love it. Boy, do they love it.
So that thing got killed. And I said, there is one good thing that came out of this as I read it, because I told you I'm a nerd. Apparently, we have $1.5 billion to give away.
Apparently we do. Who knew?
So I wrote a piece
Just
called
lying around on the ground.
I wrote a piece called Energy Independence.
Right,
And
which
I
I
said,
saw. Wait, let
why
me
don't
make
we?
sure I give you a proper plug in your
Okay,
Liberty Watch magazine. I'll put all the
thank you.
links in the description.
And I said, hey, why don't we build a refinery in central Nevada? Why don't we build, storage tanks up in West Windover with another transfer station? Because
Have you been to
when
Wendover?
it's not
I played 2 weeks in Wendover once in the lounge. If I never see, I'm
did,
sorry. If I
are you telling me you
never
spent
see it
did,
again,
did you tell me you spent a weekend one afternoon in Wendover, Nevada?
it felt like 6 months because there's not a tree that grows in Wendover because of all the salt, I guess, in the earth. It's
Yeah.
yeah, okay, not the garden spot of Nevada. If you get a chance to miss it, please do,
And,
folks.
and so that's why it's good to put a transfer station
Absolutely.
okay. So it's not if they're going to shut down the refinery, it's when. And they are going to shut the refinery down in California, and it's probably going to happen in the next 7 months.
Because they're down to how many are they down to? Are they down to one?
No, I think I want to say they have 3, but they want to
Okay.
close one more. Now, here's the problem. When that happens, our gas prices will probably jump $1.25. We're the second highest taxed folks in the United States of America for gas. The first highest are in California. Okay. So I write this article and I said, let's put some money. Let's put some transferable tax credits together. I get
love it.
calls from the merry men. We don't have the money to. Why would you write that? That is irresponsible. Wait a minute. It wasn't irresponsible 3 days ago when you were trying to get a Hollywood movie studio.
Right.
That is the dumbest boneheaded idea ever presented to taxpayers in Nevada state history.
Well, they were all getting their sack of gold, so they didn't care.
That's exactly. You hit the nail on the head. They were all getting paid.
Yeah. Are they still
And now
using
they got to
Crown
figure
Royal?
out a way to get paid from the oil industry to build a refinery.
That
And
would be
bad
good.
news for them is I got a lot of friends in Texas in the oil industry.
Well,
And when they call me and they say, hey, what do you think about this guy? He's gonna, he's gonna represent us in this. And I'm gonna say, well, that's your decision. But
when the lobbyists call them and suck up and try to get a job, right. That's
listen,
hilarious.
They have called me and said, your political career is over. I said, well, first of all, I don't have a political career. That's one. Secondly, I'm doing this because I'm having fun and I love people and I'm meeting people.
Yeah.
And if I lose, it's not the end of the world. I'll just get on a boat and go for a cruise for 2 weeks.
You have a life. One thing you and I have in common, well, a lot of things politically and stuff, but one thing you and I have in common is that we have our detractors. They can't run me out of my hometown. They can't run you. I was here first. You were here first.
These guys. These guys have called everybody and said, don't give him money. I've lived here my whole life.
Right.
They've called hotel guys and said, we're not supporting George. And then hotel guys call me and they say, hey, listen, I need you to come over to my office. I go over to the office and they give me a hug. Hey, what are you doing? And we talk and, well, you look great, George. I said, oh, you do too. Hey, I wanted to give you this little check. And I just want to tell you that I love you and I support you in this and that. And I go out, I don't look at the check, and I go out and I open the check and the check's for $2,500. Wow. I didn't ask for any money.
Right.
And then I call and I say, gosh, this is so kind. Thank you. And I go, that's a lot. I said, I really appreciate it. And you know what they tell me? I don't like being told what to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can't interrupt lifetime friendships.
No.
You can try, but it's not going to work.
Exactly right. That is exactly right. Well, I'm excited about your candidacy, and I'm excited about the fact that now that you've retired, you can go back up, hopefully, to Carson City and straighten these little brats out. I mean, I know you were up there during the session, but you can get up there and, like you said, put an adult in the room during the session.
Do you mind if we cover one more thing?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I don't know if you know this, I'm proud of this. I'm one of the architects of the voter ID for Nevada. I couldn't do it because I was working at the time. So I talked Colonel David Gibbs into being the face and
I
being the
love
leader.
him. He's a fantastic
He's
human being.
just a wonderful, wonderful man.
Wonderful man.
And we wrote the language for it, and it was terrible. And Dave said, "Well, let me go to these different states." And Dave sent it to these, and it ended up in Texas at Ken Paxton's office, the attorney general there. And I guess Dave got hold of him somehow, wrote a note and said, "Look, here's our language. You know, you guys pass this. Please tell us what we're doing wrong." And he gave us a lot of help. And then we got sued by Mark Elias, which is Hillary Clinton's attorney. And we weren't prepared for that. And it pounded us in it. So our first attempt failed. And then, you know, there's nothing like a great cigar with Dave Gibbs and, and putting some whiskey in him and getting, "Let's do this again, Dave." And so
Yeah.
we did it again, and we won in court. And we, the Supreme Court ruled in our favor, and we collected all these signatures, and it got on the ballot. And last time we got over a million people voted for it. And it's the largest number of votes that a constitutional amendment's ever got in the state of Nevada.
So great.
And now this coming up November, this election cycle that I'm running in, it's the second time it'll be on the ballot. So I want to encourage all your listeners to understand how important voter ID is. And like I simplified the studio thing with the Netflix thing, let me simplify this to you. The language we wrote says if you have a mail-in ballot, there's a box. You either put the last four of your social security number or your driver's license number. So that will eliminate any mail-in ballot fraud.
Because I can tell you, without getting into details, I can tell you for a fact they don't check those signatures. You know how Victor Jakes does that thing every year?
Well, there's going to be so much pressure on them this time. Now, remember, it's why it's so important you have to go out and vote for voter ID, because this is the second time it's on. So all these ballots, the county's probably going to send ballots out to the active and inactive voter file. That's a waste of about a little over $1 million.
Yeah, and who knows whose hands they go up into.
Voter file because those people don't live here. So why would you mail to those people? Because
and what's going to happen?
There's nefarious activity going on where someone is figuring out how to get those in back. But there's going to be so much bright spotlights. I did that for the movie studio guys on the balloting system this year that they won't be able to get away with it. Now, the other thing, I'm a guy who's going to write about issues that are polarizing. And I'm going to write about this question 6 issue, which is the
huge. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to do a separate video, and I will do more videos on that in the future. But since you brought it up, let's you and I talk about it right now.
Okay, so here it is. I'm writing a piece called "Bad Medicine, Bad Law." It doesn't matter. This is not a pro-life, pro-choice issue, ballot initiative.
Not at this point.
This is a initiative that the far left Democrats have put into place. It's called a turnout model. It is to get everybody angry, mostly women, and get them to turn out and vote against the evil people that want to control their bodies.
That's right.
This has nothing to do with abortion. And I'm going to explain to you why, very simply. Abortion was resolved in the state of Nevada in 1996 through a constitutional amendment. Abortion, whether you agree with it or not, constitutionally is legal in Nevada. What this ballot initiative does, and they don't tell anybody, is it changes the Constitution to now take away parental notification. And in the original 1996 version, the only person who could do an abortion is a licensed medical doctor.
That's right.
They have expanded that to like 19 different people, school nurses, the day after pill. But the most egregious thing is they are taking parental notification, because in the 1996 bill, you must notify the parents if your 14-year-old daughter's getting an abortion.
But my understanding is it notification wasn't necessary. You didn't have to have permission, just notification. But they
Uh,
want to take even the notification out now.
no. Their goal is to remove notification.
That's what I
Okay,
mean. In other words,
so
before you had to let somebody know. They couldn't stop you from having an abortion
right.
if you were a
So
teenage girl,
let's be
but they had to at
truthful
least
about.
know. Yeah.
Let's be truthful. Let's always be truthful, and let's always full disclosure. Full disclosure. I'm pro-life. Okay,
Me too.
I'm
Hmm.
pro-life. I'm a Christian, and that's nice. But I don't. But it's already been put into law.
Sorry.
But this is a manipulative turnout model to anger mostly the female population and to demonize to demonize me, a Republican, okay, or to demonize a Democrat that's pro-life. Because let me tell you, when a Democrat finds out another Democrat's pro-life, they demonize it. And it's this stuff that we have. This is where adult supervision comes in. This is where we have to say, look, this doesn't make sense. And look, I don't. These people, they're smart. They know they got to get their voters to the
Well, they know.
polls.
Remember when Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, was on that talk show talking about how even once a child's born, they would have a discussion about it. In other words, a child that's already born, that is by all legal interpretation a separate human being now, and there was still going to be a discussion about it. And what was so horrifying about that, besides what he said, was that not one Democrat denounced it. Not
Well,
one.
that's true. And here's the other thing on question 6 is that there's an infanticide section to that. That means allowing abortion up to the 9th month. And I guarantee you right now, all Democrat women, all Republican women, all nonpartisan women do not agree with that. Period. They
Right.
just don't.
It's a culture
But
of death.
they also don't understand is it's very easy to manipulate people and say, look, that Heidi Harris, she's evil. She wants to control your body. She wants and it doesn't matter if Heidi wants to control your body. The Constitution of the state of Nevada allows for abortion of women up to, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm having a dumb attack.
How many months? Is it? It's 24 weeks?
24 weeks. I think that's
I
correct.
think that's what it is.
And so they want to change all this. And they're using this turnout model. And by the way, they don't care about abortion. They don't give they care about angering people so bad they go out and vote against. All they have to do is say George Harris is for this or against it, and he wants to control your body to get people to plug a button against me.
Right.
Okay. And they're going to have a hard time with that because I have the ability to put a message out and explain to people what nonsense that is. This is strictly a calculated political turnout model. It has nothing to do with protecting women. It has nothing to, and by the way, it has nothing to do with pro-life or pro-choice because that has been settled in
That's right.
1996.
That's what they keep forgetting. Or they
And
don't
people
forget it. They know it. They purposely
Well,
leave it out.
and by the way, we've had so much growth. There's a lot of people who don't know that
No,
about Nevada.
they don't.
We've had so much growth. So now let's talk about the general election next year. So you're in the general election. Here's why. Look, if you want to be, say you're a Republican and you govern as a Democrat, which a lot of Republicans right now are very angry because they believe Joe was governing as a Democrat. Okay. Then you get what you
All of our
deserve.
governors do, except Jim Gibson. He was the last one.
But you
Gibbons,
get what you
not
deserve.
Gibson. I'm sorry,
Gibbons,
Gibbons, not
You
Gibson.
get what you deserve because here's what's going to happen. In the general election, there is no president on the ballot.
Mhm.
There is no U.S. Senate race on the ballot. None of the 3 congressional races are going to lift the water. I promise you that. So what's going to happen? You're going to have the far left voting and the far right voting. Okay? The far left is going to be much more engaged. And the far right, you're going to have people who are very angry. And so they're either going to vote none of the above or they're not going to go to the polls. So with that said, and you're probably going to kill me for saying this, I want everyone to listen to me. Listen to Uncle George. It's very important that you understand this. We must reelect Joe Lombardo. We must help him. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody deserves a second chance. I believe that Joe's a good man. contrary to, I'm going to get calls. I believe he's a good man. Okay. I believe sugar and salt look exactly alike, and he's listening to the wrong people. He's
Yes,
listening to people that want to line their pockets.
that's for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
Mhm.
So here's why it's so important that you go out and vote, because I need to get elected. Okay. And Joe is honestly a 10 times better. If Aaron Ford were to go to be elected,
Oh,
the state would be dismantled. The state would be destroyed. His thought process in his brain is so far left, is so full of hate,
yeah.
is so full of hatred towards America, is so full of
Mhm.
hatred towards people.
Score settling and all that. Oh,
And
yeah.
I tell him right to his face, the man, he is a racist. I know
Mhm.
him. And look, I'm not afraid. I don't need anything from anybody. And I'm just going to tell you, some people come up to me and they go, "Oh, you know, I like you because you say what we're all thinking." No, I ran a big company with 3,000 employees, and I was faced with challenges every day that would boggle your mind. And I see right through this. And I'm telling you, in the end, do not be frustrated with me. You have to play the cards you're dealt.
That's
And
true.
I'm telling you, if you take Joe away from these idiots that are giving him that are that are telling him what to do, and and advising him, he's a good man.
Yeah. What do they
He is
say?
a
You
good
gotta go
man.
to
And
war
and
with
look,
what you have. Yeah.
and look, I feel that I've been misled by those guys. You know, they're out recruiting some. They've told me they're good, and I said, "You guys do it." Here's a fun thing. You'll like this, Heidi. I said, "Look, if you endorse me, I'm going to run on your endorsement. If you don't endorse me, I'm going to run on that."
That's the great thing about not giving a damn. People can, like I said, people can't run you out of your town. They can say whatever they want about you or me. And I just go, yeah, well, I'll still be here and you'll probably be gone or whatever else. But yeah, that's the thing. They
So,
can't scare you.
so I do want to tell everybody, I don't want to hear any more nonsense about, "Oh, we got to vote Joe out. We got to get him out." No, that's what they want. If we do that as Republicans, then the Democrats win. You give them
Yeah,
exactly what they
I know.
want.
That's
And
true.
Joe just learned that lesson. He called a special session that he should have never called. The Democrats introduced a Hollywood bill that should have never been introduced. Let me tell you something. That man worked so hard on that crime bill. And that crime bill was so good. That crime bill on a scale to 1 to 10 was a 20, and it got gutted like a Christmas turkey. Okay? And now he has to live with those consequences. But now we can say, "Okay, you screwed up, but we're going to be with you. We're going to help you. We're going to support you. But don't forsake the base again." Because the base that's why they call it the base. If you don't have a base, you have quicksand and you sink right down into the hole and
That's
drown.
right. That's absolutely true. George, great talking to you. And I'm going to put all the
Thank you for
information.
having me on. I
Give me your
appreciate you.
website. Give me your election website. Do you have it
Well,
yet?
my election website is fogvegas.com, fogvegas.com, which stands for
Friends of
Friends of
George.
George,
Yeah.
Vegas.com.
I love it. Okay, I'll have people look. I'll put all the links to Liberty Watch and all that stuff on here too. Great to talk to you, my friend. I'm sure I'll see you. We always run into each other somewhere, politically or otherwise. Great talking to you, and God bless you for standing up for what needs to be, done in the state.
Thanks, Heidi. You're a great American, but better than that, you're a great Nevadan.
Oh, you're a
And
sweetheart.
as I told our friend on the other side, when Tick Seegerbloom, when he told me that the most important Nevadan in history
How
was
was
Harry
Tick? Was he
Reid.
smoking a doobie when you saw him, or no? Just
Huh?
was he smoking when you saw him?
Oh no, he's always high.
Smoking when
I
you
told,
got him.
and he
Oh,
looked at me with the most serious face and said, "The most important Nevadan in our history, in our lifetime, was Harry Reid." And I looked at him and I smiled like this and I said, "I think I have to disagree." I said, "I think," and I speak for all Nevadans, the most important Nevadan in our history was a guy named Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens,
right.
not Harry Reid.
Right, Harry Reid. Don't get me started on Harry Reid. That's another show for another day, my friend. Good old.
Well, one of my first bills is going to be to put adult supervision back into
Take the
the
airport.
legislature,
Hmm.
and take the say you can't have anything named after you until you're dead for 10 years, and to change the name of the Harry Reid Airport to the Las Vegas Airport and just get it over.
That's a good idea. One other quick thing I want to tell you. Do you remember back in the day, this is about 2010, Harry Reid was claiming that the mob had targeted him and tried to kill him. Do you remember that?
Yes.
He was running ads, and I knew it was BS. And I talked to people in this town who were in law enforcement at the time, because I was pretty young. So were you when he claimed this happened, right? So I was asking people who were adults and in that bit, and they all said, I don't know what you're talking about. So nobody heard about it because it didn't happen. So I kept poking at him, and I said, it didn't happen. Then I got Frank Collada, him, the mob hitman, to come on the show. And Frank said, if I wanted Harry dead, he'd be dead, because he was the hitman at that time, and he
Right.
would have taken Harry out.
And he would have done it.
Yeah, and he said, we don't target the family station
But
wagon.
listen, let's not speak ill of the dead.
Oh, I will.
What Harry said, and I think you misunderstood it. What Harry said was, the mob's not giving me enough money this week, and I feel like they're killing me. Because
that's what it was.
I grew up here,
Yeah.
and I was lucky enough to be given a free ticket to the United States Army when I was 17, because I worked as a chef's assistant at Gus Gallo's Italian restaurant.
Oh my gosh.
I used to drive my bicycle. They would give me sandwiches in a bag, and I would deliver those sandwiches to the Stardust Hotel.
Sure.
And Bobby the Midget or Steve Goldberg would come out the back door, and I would hand them the sandwich, and I would get, this is way back in the I would get a $5 tip, which is like $100.
That was a big deal back then.
And I would drive back, and one day I drove back, and there were cops everywhere, and I went back in the restaurant, and they arrested everybody. Gus, all these mobsters got arrested. Okay,
so funny.
And they put me in the dining room, and then they called my dad, who was a TV guy. You know that my dad did the news here for years.
Mm-hmm.
And Ralph Lamb was a sheriff. He came in. He said, "You're Mal's son. What the hell are you doing here?" I said, "I work in the kitchen. But you just wait right here, young man." And then 2 weeks later, I was on a bus going to the station to get inducted into the Army in Phoenix, Arizona.
That was a good idea. Well, you know what?
And so the end of that story is, I told you I worked at Gus Gallo's Italian restaurant, which was a mob, which was Tony Spilatro all those guys
all
came
those
there.
Places.
And guess who ate there all the time?
Tony,
a guy
Frank.
named Harry Reid.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I would be in the kitchen, and when Harry showed up, everybody would come in. Gus and all those guys would say, "Hey, the senator's here. The senator's here."
Oh, brother. When I was about, I don't know how old I was, probably I had to be 21. I worked at a bar in Flamingo in Maryland. I can't remember what it was called. It was in that strip mall. And everybody in there, Jimmy, Joey, Tony, Frankie, everybody was in there. And years later, when I had gotten to know Frank Collada, because I'd interviewed him, he said, "Oh yeah, that was our hangout." I'm thinking, I wish I'd listened more closely to the conversations at the bar when I was a kid.
You wouldn't have heard what they were talking about.
Well, I probably wouldn't have known. But you know what? Let's just leave it here. Vegas was a great place to grow up, wasn't it? The greatest place ever, I think.
It is the greatest place to grow up. And I will tell you one thing, closing words is, I want to ask everyone that watches your show, I need help. Please go to fogvegas.com. If you live in my district, I want to respectfully ask that you vote for me, because I promise you, my only agenda is going to be the agenda of the voters of Senate District 8.
There you go, my friend. Thank you. Great talking to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.